Welcome back to Hype FM, celebrating the best and latest in New Zealand music. Today's special guest is rising grunge pop artist Bella Rafflyn. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
No worries. Cutting her teeth as lead vocalist, guitarist, producer and songwriter in indie surf band Coast Arcade, she's shared stages with the likes of Bootleg Rascal, Pacific Avenue and Lazy Ghost, to name a few. Currently being mentored by 660's bassist Chris Mack after seeing her performance at Smokefreerockquest, today we are celebrating the release of her debut single as a solo artist, Overdrive. Amazing. And first of all, I'd love to know how you got started in singing and making music and all that.
It started, I was about 7 and my dad got me a guitar for Christmas. It was a pretty bold kind of like, you will play guitar.
Oh yeah, no,
Yeah.
it's like you have to play this.
But I think Dad's philosophy was always if you do it for fun, then you enjoy it and then you can get into like the hard stuff with it. So with my guitar teachers and all that, it was always like, just do songs she wants to learn, make it super fun, because that way if she develops a love for it, then that'll work.
Yeah. Is your dad a musician himself?
No, Dad's not a musician, but a music enthusiast. He's got a real eclectic music taste. And so I think he was just like, yeah, my kid's going to be a musician.
Nice.
Yeah.
And did you grow up a lot around music and listening to music? And
Yeah. Mum and Dad love music. They listen to a lot of kind of grunge, like the Pixies, Nirvana, Pearl Jam, Soundgarden. Like that was all kind of what I grew up on. And then I started playing in bands when I was about 10, doing band quest through primary school. And then Smokefreerockquest. This is all just as a guitarist. Didn't want to touch the microphone. Don't put me anywhere near it. Like I had such a hate for singing. And then I remember going to school one day and the singer in my band coming up to me and saying, hey, like I'm not enjoying it. Like I don't really want to do it anymore. And I went home to Dad and I started crying. I was like, I don't have a band. And he said, well, you've kind of got two options. Like you can learn to sing or you can have no band. And so I was like, oh, I guess I have to start singing, and that was it.
Yeah, that's so cool. And when did you start like writing your own songs? Was it around the time you started singing or?
Probably, I think I would have been about 14, 15. So probably just after I started singing. And again, it was something that I only did because of Smokefreerockquest. Like I had to. You have to write original songs to compete. And because I'm so competitive, I was like, I'm going to write songs. But it was something that took a lot to get there and I didn't enjoy for a really long time.
Interesting. Yeah. And who would you say are your main musical influences, like over time, I guess?
Yeah, I think there've been so many over my life, and it depends on what I've been kind of prioritizing as my favorite part of music. Like when I was playing guitar when I was quite young, it was like Slash and people like that, like David Gilmour and like real like rock guitarists, some incredible guitarists. And then when I started getting into singing, it was more like Liz Stokes from the Beths, Courtney Barnett, usually female musicians who have like a super strong accent when they sing, because that was something I always found really hard when I was singing. And the reason I felt like I wasn't a good singer was because I sang with such a strong accent, and I didn't know anyone who did that until I got introduced to these artists, and they were like, oh, I could do that.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
So congrats on the release of your new single, Overdrive. It sounds amazing. Can you tell us about the inspiration behind that song?
That song kind of came about when we were on a songwriting camp in Mangawhai last year. When I say we, I talk about some of the 660 members, a couple of other super cool musicians, some producers, including Dan Martin and another artist called Spencer Coyle, who's awesome. Yeah. And Dan and Spencer and I were chucked into a room and kind of just told to create. And Overdrive is what came from that. And it started as like the goal of the day was to write something that was super out of my comfort zone, that being something quite pop. And so Overdrive initially was like a super poppy song. And then over the last year, it's taken so many different shapes, and it's finally arrived to what it is today.
Nice.
And now it's out into the world.
Whoa, and how does it feel for everyone to now be able to listen to it?
Relieved. relieved. Yeah. I think when you sit on something for so long, like I've had this project for 5 years, longer than Coast Arcade has been around.
Wow, that is a long time.
Yeah, so to sit on these songs and sit on Overdrive, like there's only so many iterations of something you can do before you just need to get rid of it and get it out into the world before you can't take it back.
Yeah.
So I'm glad that I'm at that point where it's gone. There's nothing to change now. Can't change it.
Nice. No, you can't.
No.
It's out. No changes required.
No.
What was the writing and production process like for this track?
Well, yeah, as I say, we were kind of on that camp, and the day of writing between Spencer, Dan and I, we'd had a kind of big night before, so we were all pretty tired, and Dan was particularly tired, and I remember like just trying to think of words and themes and feelings, and it's really hard to like be vulnerable when you're not in the headspace to be vulnerable.
Yeah.
And with people that you've not been vulnerable with before. So it was a weird process, kind of like opening up and starting to write about something that came from quite a vulnerable space. But Spencer's been a friend of mine for a long time, and he kind of pried it out of me. And then the production was just a mixture of a lot of people kind of putting in their ideas. And especially, you know, I'm super particular with what I want things to sound like.
Yeah.
And I wanted it to have a really heavy undertone with like a pop kind of glossy layer. So loads of different forms.
Yeah, and you did just that. That's
Yeah.
amazing. And you kind of mentioned opening up and vulnerability in those sessions. And I guess a lot of the time as an artist, you're going to be popped into a room with people that you haven't necessarily worked with before. What kind of tips do you have, or what have you implemented to help, you know, open yourself up to those like songwriting processes?
I think the really cool thing about songwriting is the fact that you get to collaborate with people, but it's something that I'm still really figuring out myself. I still go into rooms with people, and it takes me sometimes a couple of sessions to really get to a semi-comfortable place. I think finding things that you relate with, like both of you relate to or all of you relate to, helps, because then you can all write from a somewhat similar place but hear different perspectives.
Yeah.
And that's kind of a cool way to write. But honestly, like tips, I don't know. If you have tips for me, I'd love them.
That's why I asked you. Yeah, but I think that's so normal to feel like it takes like a couple of sessions to open up, as you say, because it's kind of like opening your diary up to these strangers for the first time, and then I guess when you release it into the world, that's kind of the same process. So I can understand that it can be quite difficult. What were your core highlights or most memorable moments working on the track, do you think?
I think when we got the mix back, it had kind of hit the nail on the head of the grunge and pop balance.
Yeah.
Both Chris and I were like, that's the one, and it was such a satisfying feeling after it taking quite a while to get there. And Nothing Beats released today, so
yeah,
that's
exactly.
probably it. Yeah,
it's like a birthday.
Yeah, kind of. It's kind of like a birthday where we're like, but it's as like a birthday. It's like you spend so long kind of getting amped up about this day, and then it just happens, and it's like, okay.
Yeah, it's out.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I had an afternoon nap.
Hey, that's really good.
Yeah, like it's just it's like another normal day. Like,
And as you say, a relief as well.
yeah,
to get
a relief. I was just like, boom, done. So
amazing. And you have your debut solo show coming up at the Tuning Fork on Saturday the 3rd of August, which is super exciting. What are you looking forward to most about that performance?
It's the first headline show I've done with this project. So it was kind of a bit of a gamble as A, whether people would come, and B, because people aren't really sure what they're buying tickets to. So I'm kind of like, that's kind of exciting, but it's also really scary. But I'm excited to see how people respond to some of these songs I've been sitting for so many years, because for me that's the true test of the songs. It's like, how do people respond to them live? How well can a band play them live with no tracks, nothing behind them? It's just a 4-piece band. And so I'm excited for that, and I'm excited to see a lot of people who have supported me in this project for so long. Hopefully they're all going to be there. So I think it's just going to be wholesome, I hope.
Yeah. And I think that's the magical part about music is you can listen to the songs on Spotify or whatever, but it's when you are actually in front of the artists themselves, like that's when you can fully connect to the audience and people can connect to you, and that's such a special time.
Yeah, I think it's like, because I do a little bit of mentoring for bands and things through multiple different outlets, and before bands go on stage, I always say to them, like, when you are going to a show, what do you say? Like, hey, I'm going to listen to a show? No. It's like, I'm going to watch a show. Like, if you wanted to hear a perfect version of a song, you'd go to Spotify.
Yeah.
Whereas when you're going to a show, like, it's all about what you can see and how you're entertained, and obviously you want it to sound amazing.
Yeah.
But there's so much more to it, and that's why I love live performing.
Yeah, and then once you see that live performance, then that's when you're like, oh, I want to listen to that song again. Like, I can't wait to hear it. So
hopefully.
Yeah, that's so good. And it's exciting that you're playing new songs, as you mentioned.
Yeah.
Which is really, can't wait to hear those. Who are your favourite artists in Aotearoa at the moment, or do you have any favourite songs from Kiwi artists?
Well, no, I'm kidding.
Just plug your own, right?
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
Obviously, I'm a massive fan of Frankie Venter. I play guitar for her when she plays live. I think what she's doing is so cool and outside of the box, which is really nice and refreshing to see for Kiwi artists. I've got George Barney Roberts, who's opening for me. I really like what he's up to. It's a really cool fusion. Same with Lucian Rice. Awesome stuff. Yeah.
Those three.
There's so many though. Like, you could go on and on about the amazing music we have here, and I can't wait for the day that the whole world kind of gets to see what a lot of these young local acts have been up to.
Yeah.
Because it's going to be really exciting.
Yeah, like as you said, there's like a lot of work in progress that goes on behind the scenes, and then suddenly, you know, they're starting to release a few songs and you're like, oh wow, there's so much work that's been done here that you hadn't been able to see before. So that's really cool. And what's next for you in 2024?
Next for me, just honing in on these live shows. I love playing live. The more I can play live, the better. Hopefully get in a few festies over summer.
Nice.
Writing heaps of music, hopefully releasing heaps of music. So you name it, I'm trying to do it.
Nice. That's all from me. Is there anything else that you want to add?
No, thank you for having me.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Bella, for coming on. And also, special thank you for Studio One Guitars for having us in this beautiful studio today with your amazing guitars.
In heaven.
Yes.
Heaven.
Bella's heaven.